Hey mamas, and welcome to the Entering Motherhood podcast. This is your one-stop go-to place for getting you from feeling drained, exhausted, and unfulfilled in motherhood to feeling more energized, organized, and accomplished. That's the vision I continue to navigate towards, and that's the vision we are sharing with you, focusing on holistic alternatives and restructuring your mind, body, and soul from the inside out. I'm your host, Sarah Marie Bilger, a wife, mom of two, mechanical engineer, VBAC mom, and doula, serving mamas through pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. If you're here for this, if you're as pumped up as I am and searching for that fire that you know is deep inside of you, then let's go. Let's uncover what it truly means to enter motherhood. You are a rock star. I believe in you. Let's doula this. Let's crank it up a notch and let's kick it into high gear together. Hey mamas, how are you? I am actually on vacation right now. We are out and at the beach for 4th of July, but this episode specifically, we are talking about sleep and solutions for sleep if we are not getting it. Martha is the guest this week on this podcast, and her main focus is insomnia, but honestly, we go into other things and really just bring up how things like brain fog and fatigue are symptoms that our body is experiencing and it needs attention. So really just kind of going into those things and understanding when we are self-diagnosing in a lot of these situations, we may actually be navigating down a path that's actually driving us further away from a solution. So sometimes in very extreme cases, when we really feel like we are quote unquote trying all the things that experts are saying and to do, and you're doing all these things yourself and you're not finding solutions, then finding an expert that will help you in these options is best. Hello and welcome to Entering Motherhood. I am glad to have you here today and really get this conversation started. So how about you go ahead and introduce yourself first for our listeners?
Sure. So my name is Martha Lewis, and I am a sleep consultant and functional health coach. So I used to be a pediatric sleep consultant, but because of my own problems with insomnia, I ended up learning about how underlying health issues affect sleep. And so that is really my passion now, is helping adults get healthy so that they can sleep normally.
Awesome. So if you could kind of sum up your experience of entering motherhood, what would you say about that?
Yes, well, sleep was a big thing that I thought about. So I got pregnant at age 39. And in late pregnancy, I started not being able to sleep for the first time in my life. And it continued, even after my son was born, even after he was sleeping through the night, it continued for another 2 years until I finally figured out what was causing it. And so I was, in the meantime, I became a pediatric sleep consultant because my son, even by the time he was 3 months old, was still waking up every 1 to 2 hours all night long. And we were both exhausted. And I would try to go to bed early because I was so exhausted, but it would take me forever to fall asleep. And then almost every night I woke up around 3 or 4 and couldn't go back to sleep for hours, pretty much until it was 6 and my son was waking up for the day. So I spent a lot of my early years of motherhood, my son is now 6, not sleeping well. So I know how hard it is and frustrating it is to not be able to sleep. And so, yeah, I want to spread the word that we can figure out what's causing this. There is a reason, besides obviously having a newborn that's going to wake up, that you shouldn't be struggling with sleep, yourself after that.
So what did you find was going on with you specifically?
Yeah, so I learned about doing functional lab testing. So I found out I had a parasite that I had probably had for 13 years from traveling in Nepal and India. And I had major hormone imbalance. I had something called copper toxicity, which is when copper builds up in the body, which is really common for women who take birth control. And, I had some mineral imbalances and deficiencies. I had some heavy metals. So I had a number of things going on that were affecting my health and therefore my sleep.
What specifically did you test for that you were discovering these things? And was that a long process? Like, did you start with, a specific testing procedure and then didn't find anything? Everything seemed fine and healthy. And then you moved on and dug deeper? Or what was that process like?
Yeah, well, of course, my doctor's blood work always came back normal. So that doesn't usually help find out why someone isn't sleeping. So I had been in the health and wellness space for a long time already. So I feel fortunate that I found out about the certification to learn about the lab testing. So I was able to do all the tests at once and really get to the bottom of it pretty quickly. So yeah, one of the tests I do is a gut health test. So that's a stool test that shows what's living in your gut and how healthy your gut is. So that's where he found the parasite. One thing I didn't mention, I did a food sensitivity test, found out I was sensitive to gluten and dairy and eggs and lots of other foods, which I see as really a sign that your gut isn't that healthy when we shouldn't be reacting to all these kinds of foods. I did what's called a hair tissue mineral analysis. So that's how I found out about the copper toxicity and other heavy metals. And then this test is called the Dutch test. It's a dried urine hormone test. So yeah, that was looking at hormones and cortisol and liver function, that combination of things and luckily I was able to address those all at once. So I started sleeping better pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think, it's those kinds of things that I hear other people, maybe they're like, oh, well, I went to my doctor and I got blood work and everything's fine. But like, there's still some sort of disconnect. And honestly, like when I first heard like the Dutch test, like I was like, what the heck is that? Like, it sounded like, yeah, I don't know what I thought it was or like what it sounded like. I think I went along the lines of like the stool sample test instead of like urine. I was just like, oh, like that sounds strange, but like, I guess it helped. And, like I'm still like, that's one thing that I'm like really like digging into, like learning more about because I hear it so often. And once you do have these tests or analysis done, you can understand like so much more about your body that like maybe on the surface you're not understanding. And like you said, then there's pretty easy solutions. Like once you understand what the issue is to get there. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, like, like I'm sleeping better or this or that. Like, I think it's like one of those things where like, if you don't know what options are out there, then you don't know how you could potentially be healing your body and just how potentially simple of a solution it could be. So I love that you're like talking about those things and explaining those things. But so was it kind of like a combination, like all together that was improving your sleep by taking these tests, or one specifically like the copper or the parasite, like once that was resolved, was it transitioning into a better sleep pattern immediately?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, gradual process, but it's not like it took years for my sleep to improve. But I really think it's about addressing everything at once because everything is connected and everything's affecting everything else. So it's like, maybe this all started from the parasite, then damaging my gut, but gut health is going to affect liver function, and hormones need a healthy liver to be processed by the body. And if your gut isn't healthy, you aren't absorbing nutrients from food. And so then minerals get out of balance, and heavy metals actually accumulate when minerals are out of balance. So my whole philosophy is that it's all about looking at everything at the same time, because otherwise, if you only look at gut health and don't even look at hormones, it's like you're probably not going to see improvement, and your hormones aren't just going to get imbalanced by themselves very quickly or easily.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So probably most likely we don't commonly see a parasite situation. But what are maybe some common, causes that we can be seeing in the postpartum period that might be disrupting our sleep?
Yeah, I mean, hormones are going to be the main cause, in the postpartum period for sure. Our hormones are crazy. And if you think about it, I mean, being pregnant, having a baby, like it's very stressful for our bodies. So, and especially, the older we get, probably the more stressful it is and the more out of balance our bodies already are. So, yeah. And honestly, I mean, gut health, you're right. Not everyone has a parasite, although maybe 25% of my clients do.
Wow.
Yeah. And if not, there are other pathogens too, like H. pylori and Candida. So, like, none of my clients have a healthy gut. Now, for some people, the gut's 90% of the problem, and other people, it's not. Gut health is a big one. For the postpartum period, I mean, hormones are the key thing to look at. And I think there's not much you can do the first few months after your baby's born, but after that would be an appropriate time to run the Dutch test, or at the very least find your hormone levels from your doctor. If you can work with someone a little more alternative functional medicine, I would recommend that. I mean, because low progesterone, low estrogen, high testosterone, high estrogen, like all of those can lead to insomnia. There's likely some hormone imbalance going on postpartum.
Yeah. And you said, so what would be kind of like a good duration of time after baby comes, like in the postpartum period, that if we're still seeing issues, we should really start looking into these alternatives and options?
Yeah, I would say after 3 months, again, 3 months postpartum. And, I mean, it also depends. Like sometimes people come to me a year later and they're like, I didn't realize I wasn't sleeping well because my baby wasn't sleeping well for a year too. So a lot of times it's hard to tell the difference until your baby is actually sleeping better. So teasing that out, figuring that out too.
So what really got you into all this? Just your own personal experience, or what were you doing before everything?
Yeah, well, I was a nutritionist before. I used to manage the supplement department of health food stores. So like I said, I've been in the health and wellness space for a long time. And then I got into baby sleep because of my son. I really was against sleep training at first, but then, by the time he was 3 months and still waking up all the time, I mean, I remember spending days like just crying all day long because I was just so tired and I didn't know what to do about it. And I was finally like, you know what? This is not good for him either. Like, I need to get sleep. He doesn't need a mom who's crying all day either. So I did hire a sleep consultant, and within 4 nights, he was waking up once a night. And my world was changed. I was like, okay, I can do this. I can be a mom. This is going to be great. And, then I became a pediatric sleep consultant as well. Like it just made such a difference in my life that I wanted to help other people with that too. I think that's how it first started, that I got into sleep and then I still wasn't sleeping. And then again, found out doing these functional lab tests, and it just kind of came full circle that I'm really back into health again, but focusing on helping people with sleep.
Yeah. So when a client comes to you, are you running the analysis and test for them, or are you kind of instructing them to find someone and then you're helping them process the results and helping them kind of go through a procedure to get better sleep?
No, I order and run the tests for them as well. So that's part of my program is the 4 standard tests that I run, and then working with people for 6 months, like really getting into those underlying health issues.
Like, is it just mainly people struggling with insomnia, or where do you really feel the most called to help women?
So, yeah, I mean, and I think what most of my clients have in common is that, I mean, first of all, they tend to care about their health already, and they've already tried a lot of different things, right? Like they've tried all the supplements that are out there, which is what I did too. I tried every supplement under the sun. Turns out there's no magic pill for this. And, they may have even tried cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, which is looking at the mental part and your sleep environment and habits and things like that, which I also help with in case people haven't done that. But yeah, so it's like they've already gone to their doctor and gotten blood work. They've already researched a ton. And, the thing I found most frustrating is that if you Google it, it's the same advice everywhere, right? It's like, don't watch screens before bed, don't drink caffeine after noon, exercise every day. It's like, yeah, we're doing all of that and still can't sleep. It's like the most frustrating thing ever. Yeah. So I'm working with people they've done a lot of research. They've tried a lot of things usually. And like they realize that it's not helping, and the medical system can't really help them either, unfortunately.
Can you give us an example of maybe there's a mom and she's not sleeping very well and she's coming to you and you just ran all of the labs and now we're getting results back? Like, what might be a disconnect and then a solution to that?
Like, what do their lab results show?
Yeah, like maybe like how you said, like 25% of people are having parasites. Like that
right.
sounds so shocking to me. Like,
Yeah.
To think that there are more of us with that. Like I'm thinking, whoa, that's so uncommon, but 25% is a large chunk of people.
Yeah.
So like let's say like maybe you find out that that's what the issue was. Like, how are we resolving this, or like getting on a process of restoring our gut?
Yeah, totally. And I'll say first too, like what I see in a lot of my clients, because the Dutch test looks at cortisol and your cortisol pattern, is that cortisol is high at night when it shouldn't be. Like cortisol should be low at night and then it goes up in the morning to wake us up. I mean, yeah, at least half my clients, this cortisol is elevated at bedtime or in the middle of the night. And then I want to know why that is. And the most common reason is back to this pathogen in the gut. It can be from liver dysfunction, because the liver is most active at night. It can be from blood sugar issues. Like if you're on a really blood sugar roller coaster, then that can continue into the night. So those are the most common reasons why cortisol can be high at night. So let's say it is a parasite. Like there's more to it too than just killing a parasite. It's like if you've had a parasite and who knows how many years, someone has had that if it shows up on a stool test, but it's like their gut's damaged. So you really want to also, work on foods or supplements that help heal the gut wall. If there are nutrient deficiencies, especially minerals and things like that, like, supplement with those in the short term while we work on healing the gut so that, it actually has the nutrients it needs to heal. So, yeah. And then, I use more natural things like herbs and other supplements to like actually deal with a parasite. And yeah, but it's really, this big picture of how do we really restore gut health, because we're always going to be exposed to things like parasites, and a healthy gut can fight it off and can't take hold and start damaging the gut. So it's really about rebuilding gut health for the future so that the gut stays healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense, and really kind of like you said, again, like it's all connected, like everything is tied together. So like, I feel like right now it's just, there's so much information that people are trying to like self-diagnose themselves without like getting that full picture of what their specific body is doing. And that's why it's like, they're trying all the supplements and they're, doing all these things, and they're like, okay, well, I'll try and see how this works. And then like, maybe it helps for a little bit, and then they're back into the same situation. And it's really like this constant game of just, trying to figure out what their own specific body is doing without getting that like full general evaluation of the big picture. So I'm sure, like, obviously, because like this is the test and analysis that you do, you feel really like passionate and strongly about, but like, where do you feel was like a big shift or a turning point for you? And why do you really implement these tests to be done and see it as a big picture, as opposed to, maybe trying this or that?
Yeah, well, it's partly from the training I did, although I do different tests. Like as I kept learning more, and I did work under someone for a while who was already specializing in sleep, from this perspective. So yeah, I guess it's just, the training and experience I've gotten since then have led me to like choose the 4 tests that I'm doing now, because my goal is how can we use the fewest tests that give the most information for the least cost to get all the information I need. Yeah. So I think it's just been a combination of doing this for a few years and really figuring out what's going to be best. Like, for example, I added a neurotransmitter test within the past year. So it's looking at things like serotonin and dopamine and GABA that directly affect sleep. For example, I found out recently that I am really deficient in serotonin, and it's probably a genetic thing. I haven't gotten that tested yet, but that's my guess. And so, if someone's really low in serotonin, that can directly affect sleep. So supplementing with 5-HTP, which is a precursor to serotonin, can help improve sleep really quickly. And so, yes, like for some people, serotonin might be a genetic thing, or it might be that their gut isn't healthy, because actually 90% of our neurotransmitters are made in the gut. So it's like we want to work on gut health for the long term, but in the short term, it can really help someone to start sleeping a lot faster if we directly look at neurotransmitters.
And how is that test conducted?
That's a urine test as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like this stuff is so fascinating. And I think it's so important, for people to like you to really explain those things and get that information out there. Because like I said, I think a lot of people are just kind of like trying to self-diagnose or find like a supplement that they've heard is easy to use for this or that. And if they're actually, like increasing their serotonin instead of like decreasing it or doing the opposite, like, yeah. I think it's like those kinds of things. Like if you're fueling your body in ways that actually aren't beneficial to you specifically, just because you don't, go through this whole procedure, it could just be a long struggle that could simply be solved by, doing some analysis or just like diving a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, we self-diagnose with symptoms, right? But there are so many different causes. I mean, insomnia is a symptom. There's so many different things that can cause that. And same with anything, same with fatigue or brain fog or, any symptom you might have. So that's why the self-diagnosis doesn't always help. And you're so right. Like if you self-diagnose and say, oh, I might be low in progesterone, I should try some progesterone over the counter. Well, it's like, what if you were actually low in estrogen? And that's just making the imbalance even worse. So yeah, I firmly believe in testing instead of guessing is what I call it. Like that's the only way we're going to know exactly what's going on in your body.
I love that. Testing instead of guessing.
Yeah, because we don't want to make things worse, which you can by experimenting with different things.
Yeah. And I think it's just one of those things, like we live in a time that we're becoming so much more aware of our bodies and aware of the things that are happening to us and aware that we can make a difference, but it has to be done in a systematic way so that we aren't kind of just guessing and throwing things out there, which can be like overwhelming. And of course, like as a new mom going through this time in your life and really having so many other components, I think a lot of the times, like we're just thrown in the back. Like we're like, oh, like, yeah, I'm not sleeping, but at least the baby's sleeping, or like, like who cares about me? And like, there's so much focus on so many other things. And maybe you're just kind of either not acknowledging it or trying to blame it on different things or saying like it's stress or that. And I think it's just, so much is going on in our heads. So I think it's just one of those things. Like, what could you say to somebody who is like maybe listening to this and they're like, oh yeah, I can't sleep at night, but like, that's just motherhood. Like, and they don't think that it's an issue or like, they don't want to spend the time on themselves or really move forward with it. Like, what could you say to really motivate them and encourage them and inspire them to put the effort forward to do that for themselves?
Yeah. I mean, luckily we're becoming more and more aware of the importance of sleep. Sleep is so important, right? I always think about it like this, like as humans, we have evolved for tens of thousands of years without getting rid of the need to sleep for a third of our lives. Like that's how important it is. There's so much that researchers are still discovering that happens while we sleep, but so much repair is happening. So that's why you're at increased risk of so many different diseases if you're like chronically getting fewer than 7 hours of sleep a night. So like heart disease and diabetes and depression and Alzheimer's and certain forms of cancer, like sleep is so important for our health. And I think not everyone is ready to accept that at this point, but it is. It's like probably even more important than diet and exercise to get enough sleep. And for me, like what really motivated me, I also think that some people are more sensitive to sleep deprivation than others. And I am one of those people who's very sensitive to it. But what motivated me is like, I can better take care of my family if I've gotten enough sleep. So it's the whole idea of, like filling your cup first, and then you are going to be a better mother, a better partner, a better employee or business owner, whatever it is, like if you're getting enough sleep, it's so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. What can you say to, let's say maybe you're able to take like an hour or two nap, like during the day, like maybe you're kind of like on the similar schedule as your toddler or baby, and you're choosing to do, like a couple hours of sleep at night and then like a nap during the day. Like in your opinion, like how does that differ? Like, is it important to be getting like a full 7-8 hours like directly at night, or if we're napping or just like chunking out our sleep? Or I mean, we can even like go further in like, what if you work night shifts or things like that? Just the fluctuation in our sleep times, how is that differing?
Yeah, I mean, the ideal is going to be a solid 7 to 9 hours at night. But I think if you're in a phase in your life where that's not possible for some reason, then taking a nap is definitely better than not taking a nap if you aren't getting enough sleep. So I usually don't recommend more than a 30-minute nap during the day, though, because more than that can affect your nighttime sleep. When my son was younger, Anna wasn't sleeping well. Like I took a nap almost every day for 30 minutes. And even if I didn't fall asleep, I still felt so much better afterwards. So yes, I think like if you aren't sleeping well or getting enough sleep, a nap is your next best thing. But of course, the ideal is to get it all at night.
Yeah. And then what about, if we are on some sort of like flipped schedule and we're awake at night or when it's dark, and then we're sleeping during the day?
Again, it is best for our bodies to sleep at night. But however, like we need people who are awake at night. The main recommendation is actually, and I can see that this would be hard, but is to be consistent. So like totally just move your circadian rhythm to sleeping during the day. And so I think it's just really hard on your body for someone who's working shift work to try and change it, right? Like say you work 3 nights in a row and then you have 4 days off and then you're trying to then sleep at night. Like that is worse for your body than just staying on the same schedule.
Do you have any specific resources for people that are listening that might want to, gain more information on these topics, whether it be like your own resources or specific ones that you recommend?
Yeah, well, I have a podcast as well called The Insomnia Fix. So I talk a lot about these different things more in depth, a different subject each week. And I keep them short, like 10 to 20 minutes, because my audience is tired. So yeah, so that's a great resource. And then I also have a handout on my website that you can get called 5 New Ways to Get Better Sleep. And so this is a lot of things that anyone can do. Like my first tip is to eat an anti-inflammatory diet. So many sleep issues are caused by inflammation. And when there's inflammation, your body releases cortisol. So when that's happening day and night, it's going to affect your sleep. And so just simply like, it sounds simple, right? Of changing your diet, but it can have a really big impact. So there are things like that anyone can do. And I would highly recommend anyone with sleep issues to do that. And so that means like really avoiding processed foods, refined sugar, and even gluten and dairy, because those can be pretty inflammatory. So that can really help improve sleep.
Awesome. So other than your podcast, where else can we find you and reach you and get in contact with you if we want to learn more?
Yeah. So my website is thecompletesleepsolution.com. And I'm on Facebook at Complete Sleep Solution. And I also have a Facebook group called Sleep and Insomnia Help for Adults that you're welcome to join. And I'm on Instagram as Complete Sleep Solution.
Amazing. Well, I feel like I learned a lot. And I hope the listeners did too, because like I said, I think it's just knowing our options, getting more people talking about this, like opening up the conversation, and really just kind of like sparking your curiosity of like, oh, maybe I do have like, something that needs like looking into further, or maybe this is more than just like sleep deprivation in the postpartum period. Maybe I could use, a more detailed analysis on my life and what's going on. So
yeah,
I
definitely.
love it.
Thanks for being open to talking about it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, do you have anything else that you'd like to add for a mom that is either pregnant or newly postpartum?
Yes, I would say get sleep, prioritize sleep for sure. And if you can't sleep later on, it is fixable. Like there's a reason why. We can figure out what it is. You do not have to live with sleep deprivation forever.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story of entering motherhood and what you're doing now.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you, mamas, so much for listening. Remember, you are a rock star. I believe in you. Let's doula this. Let's crank it up a notch and let's kick it into high gear together. Hit that subscribe button, share this episode with a friend, message me, email me, call me, beat me. You know how to reach me. We're doing this, mamas. I am so excited to catch you here next week. This is your one-stop go-to place for helping you find the resources you need to make the best choices for you and your family during pregnancy, birth, and most importantly, postpartum. See you later, mamas.